Am I live? Yes. Let's see whether the signal works. The universe and its beginning. The only planet of choice. Essential briefings from deep space. It is a provocative and mind-opening experience, and I have decided to start from the beginning and read it to you. The universe and its beginnings. Prelude. We are here. This is Tom. We come in love and peace. Greetings, blessings, joy. This is how many of the transmissions from the Council of Nine begin. They are transmitted via Tom, their spokesman. This edition of the original Planet of Choice has grown out of the need to prepare the original text for translation into other languages. Also, with the success of the previous edition, it became clear that there was a need for more material from the Nine. So the original text has been expanded from the archives, and new transmissions, given in May 1994, have been added. To this end, it has been necessary to keep the editorial input to a minimum. The nine texts will speak for themselves. For our understanding, for as understandings enables lives to be changed, it is of vital importance that this cosmology is available for humankind. To give them the opportunity to know the truth, for when it is exposed to them, it will bring forth that code within to make them aware. So my editorial decision has been to keep a light hand on the wheel. This is Phyllis. It is quite possible that we do not understand all the meanings of all Tom's sentences, but it is also possible that with inner growth, what is unclear today will be shining with clarity tomorrow. It is this sort of book that stretches and helps to us expand. This book is very different from the prelude to the landing on planet Earth in its first edition. It does not have the narrative style of the former, nor the commentaries of the latter. It requires that the reader simply be. It is a reflection of the rapidly changing times, of our increasing capacity to assimilate extraordinary ideas into our lives and act upon them. Very often, Tom makes a statement and then repeats it with the alteration of just one or two words. He is stretching our minds, and gradually a large concept is fed into our minds in easy, spiraling stages. This is another way of nudging our coding, allowing us to absorb information which we will access when it is needed. I would also recommend reading briefings, part 1 and 2, before settling down to the main text, as that information would be most helpful in understanding the process involved. For my part, while working on these transmissions, I have felt them become a great crystal, reflecting light from all its facets, and I have been, and still am, elated by the tangible energy emanating from these sentences. It must be said that my task would have been far more difficult without the skills of Paulden Jenkins, who compiled the transcript for the first edition, and Tom also requested that Paulden be thanked. As spokesman for the Nine, I convey from the Council of Nine our great gratitude and joyfulness for the task that you have accomplished. It took 18 years, this book. My thanks also go to Lab 9 Limited for permission to use extracts from Prelude to the landing on Planet of Earth, which includes the extracts from Uninvited Visitors by Ivan T. Sanderson. I have left Tom's speech pattern as close to the original as it is possible without rendering them uncomfortable to read. The words are all exactly where they are meant to be, even it can be felt odd by our modern standards. Many of the sentences have several meanings, and each will find their own truth. I have been with these texts for many months now and have found several layers of meaning in each paragraph. He often uses the word yes at the end of his sentence. Sometimes this is to affirm the point that he has just made. Often it is to advise the listener that he is ready for another question. Sometimes he appears unable to pronounce a word and has several attempts at it, but I have spared the reader such sentences as, that is probability, this last pronounced with an air of triumph. He likes to ask why words are the same sound but not the same meaning, and such diversions are usually cut short by the council asking him to get on with the matter at hand. He enjoys wordplay, and the reader should look out for double meanings. Though amusing, their content will usually have serious implications for the text. He is delightful to be with, and if that is an odd thing to say of a corporeal being, I can only say that through all my exchanges with Tom, I have found him immensely responsive, and I have grown very fond of them. The Council of Nine only transmit through Phyllis Schlemmer, and this is worth repeating, at a time when channeling is becoming increasingly popular. As Tom explains, when you open yourself for communication with other dimensional beings, it is of great importance to have understanding of purpose and motive. For there are those who have come forward proclaiming one thing, yet being another, and there may be slipping through an information that may be truth, but may be also a method of manipulation and control. We come only through one being, our being, Phyllis. I am the only spokesman for the Nine, and I do not speak through any other. The text from which this quote has been taken can be found in Briefing. Tom has also said that it is not necessary to go on in wind of longness, so I shall leave you with this transmission. They have given me great joy to work with, for which I shall be forever grateful. From reading this book you receive as many blessings as I have done, then truly you will be enriched. I leave you with this quote. We imbue you with energy. We awaken you as you awaken us. We wish you to know that we love you. We wish you to know who you are, and we wish you not to make gods of us or of yourselves. We thank you. Oh, it moves me. Now, okay. I shall read page 5, the Council of Nine. Apart from the reply below chapters, one very striking aspect of these transmissions is the ability that Tom has for accurate and total recall of the contents of earlier conversations. He has often said, look to your transcriptions of 2 years ago, and also has acknowledged that for us it might take months of research. They can do it in seconds. The understanding of the origins of the Nine would seem to be bounded by the inner development of the individual, be it the questioner or the reader. For as Tom has said, if there is one who would ask of questions that cannot assimilate and cannot in truth understand, we do not answer until they are in that moment when they can. This is why the chapter starts off with several different people asking the same sort of questions. Tom once replied, "We are in truth ions," in reference to the Gnostic philosophers, and that very conversation appears later in the book. An acon, is it acon? Is a term commonly used to describe a period of time. An aeon is commonly used to describe a period of time, an eternity. However, it also describes the highest form of celestial power, spiritual entities formed from the divine presence. This first exchange, which took place in 1975, is between Gene Roddenberry of Star Trek fame. Gene has some very long sessions with Tom, and often more of them will be found later on in this section. Gene: to whom am I talking? Do you have a name? Tom: I am Tom. I am the spokesman for the Council of Nine. In truth, I am Tehuti. Yes, I'm also Hamakos. I'm also Herenka. I am known as Thomas, and I am known as Atum. Gene: are you one of the Nine, or are you a separate being? Tom: I sit in the Council of Nine, yes, I am one that is wisdom, that speaks to you. But the Council has said that in communications, at times, I sound not wisdom, yes? This is the reply that Tom gave to another questioner in 1977 on the same subject. Gene: I would like to ask what it is that greets me. Tom: I am the spokesman. I am known as Tom for the Council of Nine. I am of the Nine. Guest: whom do you represent? A higher authority above you that commands you and directs your ways? Tom, this is difficult to explain, for the world has no similar situation. But we would say to you, yes, we are in connection with one that is higher, but in totality together we are one, as all the universe is one. Guest, do you have any purpose in our world, any major message? Tom, we wish you to know, firstly, that we are not physical beings. Your world is the manifestation of creation, and of the Creator manifest in your world, in the form of humankind. You ask me if we have a message for you? Jean, yes I do. Tom, we say to you, you have been created in the image of the Creator. This world has lost its identity with creation. What is, of necessity to understand, is the going forth and creating action and deed that bring you to completion in who you are. It is not enough to pray. It is not enough to gather groups of humankind for meditation. What is important is to act. Guest, thank you very much, Tom. Andrew, I was particularly interested in Hamarkos. Could you tell us, Tom, I am the day and I am the evening. I am the mid-afternoon. Andrew, how did the Egyptians come to build and name the Sphinx after you? Tom, you found the secret. How did the Egyptians come to build and name the Sphinx after you? Tom, you found the secret, the true knowledge of all that will be related another time. But the original time that I was on the planet Earth, or identified with your planet Earth was 34,000 of your years ago. I am the balance, and when I say I mean because I am an emissary for the nine. It is not I, but it is the group. And the principle of the nine is the infinite intelligence. And what we try to bring to you this planet is this type of intelligence. We are of 9 principles of the universe, yet together we are one. We are separate and one at the same time. Each represents a portion of energy, knowledge, wisdom, love, kindness, technology. And in continuity it goes on until each portion of a spiral is composed of all that is important to bring complete understanding to each atom until it becomes one with us. There are in actuality multiplications and more, but in principle there are 9. We are that what is identified in the Hebraic tradition as the Elohim. We wish you to know we are not God, we are collective and become one. We wish you to know that we are you as you are we. You created us, and out of that creation you were created. Do not underestimate who you are and your ability. Know that all people are pure and that you are perfect, and that all things are possible with you. Know also that we cannot exist without you, and all souls, and neither can planet Earth, nor the universe. When you understand that, you will understand your own life. At times in your world people create confusion, for the density of it is a density of darkness. But always hold the light of truth, of your own being, who you are in your heart. We are with you always. We give you love. We bring you peace. It may, Andrew says, if I may just give you my conception of what you're like, I gather that you are pure light beings in a sense that we don't even understand because you exist at a velocity beyond light? Tom, it is beyond your comprehension. Andrew, yes, but essentially you would be of that nature rather than anything substantive. Tom, that is true. Andrew, something beyond photons, beyond tachyons, the last divisible known quanta or subdivision of light. And secondly, I would assume that you are more of the nature of what we call soul than any other thing we can imagine. Tom, that is true. Andrew, something beyond photons. And secondly, I would assume that you are more of the nature of what we call soul than any other thing we can imagine. Tom, we are soul. Andrew, you are soul. Now, in your relationship to the 9, for example, are the 9 of the same nature as you? Tom, we are one and the same. Andrew, I see. And then, could you explain the profound mystery, why there are 9 basic manifestations of it? I guess we could use the word God for lack of a better term. Tom, I will try to explain it in a manner in which you may understand. 9 is complete. Everything is 9. In your world you have said 7 so many times when everything is truly 9. There are 9 chakras, which are the 9 principle and 9 elements of what you call God. There are 9 bands around this planet. There are 9 etheric bodies, and the purpose of growing your etheric bodies or going through your transformation and transition is to attain the new 9 etheric bodies. 9 is a complete number. It is whole. When you go over a 9, it cancels. It becomes 1, and a 9 is complete. It does not change. But remember this, we ourselves are not God. All of you and all of us make God. Then came a discussion on language. Andrew, have you some method of producing your language so that we could hear the quality of it? Tom, when we speak of what your language is, it comes from deep within. It reaches different degrees, but it is a tonal language. In your languages on earth, you speak in a box, and then you throw it out. Joe, yes, our language is produced in the vocal cords. Tom, we speak in this box and we push air and throw it out. Do you understand that? Andrew, yes. And our language, it is within. It vibrates from the body. Do you understand? Andrew, then it does not come out of the way ours does at all? Tom, no, it does not. Andrew, does it produce a sound which another's ear can hear? Tom, it produces a sound that you may hear, but it is inside. In other words, Andrew says, is it produced inside my head rather than my ears? Is that what you mean? That the total range of your language is in 98.6 megacycles? Tom, that is correct. Andrew, in other words, is what you would call a radio wave? Tom, that is correct. In the next transmission, one questioner names various biblical characters from Genesis, descendants of Adam, asking whether any of these were members of the 9. Tom, in totality of understanding, we are not any of those. There are hints of us upon your planet. There are many who try to understand who we are. In your earthliness, it is difficult for you to accept that you do not understand. At times, the attempt to understand colors the truth of the universe. There are only keys for unlocking portions, for the human mind cannot totally comprehend. There are many interpretations and also many conflict about who we are. Yes, in a future time we will attempt to explain ourselves on another level of consciousness. But first, planet Earth must reach that state of evolutionary consciousness where we may be understood. Yes. The Council has said not to try to put it into a box. We do not exist in that form. Yes? John, is it true to say that there are several dimensions between us and yourselves? Tom, that would be an understatement. There are many. Within, in your mind, visualize your earth. Then, from your earth, visualize that there are waves spiraling outward. And one wave creates another. And as it circulates, it grows. And it creates more and more. And it is heavy in the beginning and has a sound. It is loud of sound. And as it radiates out, it becomes refined, becomes more expansive. And all of those irritants that exist within the physical planet Earth are eliminated as it becomes a pure sound and a pure wave. And if you would have it in the color of browns and blacks that is radiating out, it is also being purified until it becomes in truth the color of colorless, which is in truth a golden light. We are at the extent of that. We are, how may we say to you, as you can take a sound until it becomes the purest, and as you can take a color until it becomes the purest, and if you can take all vibrations until their level has raised until the pitch is of pure nature, that is where we are. John, I see. That's a beautiful picture. Thank you. Tom, it is as if you would take all that was spiritual within the universe and all that was of the intellect within the universe and take all of the physicalness that has been refined and blend it together to make one pureness. It is like a crystal. Andrew, what we would like to know is something of your natural history. We would like to know what you look like, how you reproduce, What do you do for nourishment? What is your role in the universe? What is your interest in the earth? And so on. I think it would help us all enormously if you could just give us some idea of who you are in the most descriptive sense. Tom, we do not have a physical body, although we may put on the mantle of a physical body when it is necessary. It would be difficult for us to describe to you exactly what we appear like. We appear in many forms when that is necessary, and in your thought process we may appear as a human, we may appear as an energy ball, we may appear as a very bright light. We have evolved beyond the point of needing a physical type body, as many souls need. We are always here, but you do not always see us. When I say we, I do not mean me, but I mean all of us. We are often observing. There are particular times in your life when we do not observe, and that is when you are involved with your desires. We do not understand this, and it is none of our affair. Andrew, I see. So assuming you had certain physical energies to draw upon, you would mold into something that would manifest in our world. Is that the idea? Tom, it would be similar to that, but you would not understand our technology. We are in our mind what we think we are at the time. Do you understand that? We exist in the zone of code. Because of this, we have no problem in manifesting in any manner in which we desire. As far as our reproduction is concerned, we do not need reproduction. You must remember that those of us that live in the zone have come a very long way in evolving. It is not necessary to reproduce as it is in your place. We are soul. Andrew, what part of the universe do you work in? Or what is your management? Tom, we are the universe. Andrew, now in this universe there are worlds of matter, antimatter, photons, rays, energy, particles, and more. Which part of this domain do you exist in? Or is it beyond our comprehension? Tom, it is beyond your comprehension. We came from the zone that is cold. This is perfection, Andrew. You know, on Earth we are just beginning to understand very feebly the zone of cold or superconductivity. We know that there is no resistance there, no friction. In other words, in our simple notion, it is the area of perpetual motion. Is that essentially true? Tom, this is true and this is perfection. We are in the center, and we do not wish to sound as if we are perfect or as if we are egotistical. But on either side of us, there is the pure positive and the negative. And when I say this, I mean there is the positive that is not balanced, and there's the negative that is not balanced. We are in the center and we are balanced. We are trying to bring those other forces into balance. We have never been out of place. It's other things in the universe that are not in balance. We exist at the pivotal point of the universe. There is balance. Within each of you there is all of the positive and all of the negative of the universe. Do you understand, Andrew? No, I don't. Because you told us once that you were neither on the good side nor the bad side. You were the pivot in between. Tom, yes. But do you understand that you are the balance of this? John, we have all the good and all the bad? Tom, that's why you are the balance. And we are the balance. You understand matter and antimatter. Andrew, we never have in our world any fusion of matter and antimatter. You're telling us something quite foreign. Matter and antimatter exist independently. If they get together, there is a gigantic explosion. Tom, what is Armageddon? Andrew, I don't know, just a word in the Bible. Tom, is it not a giant explosion? Andrew, that's not matter and antimatter, is it? Tom, I'm making an analogy. How may we explain? Andrew, I don't know, it's very difficult because the earth concept does not fit the one that you are trying to explain. Tom, we will begin at the beginning. In each of you, as in each of us, there is completeness. Completeness is a perfect harmony and balance between what you call good and evil. This is because this is what keeps us in the pivotal point. This is why we are the pivot, because we are in balance. When we are together, we are one and we are the pivot. Assume that we live in a world of matter. It is not true, but imagine that. Now the Council of Nine is in the center, and on our right would be the world of matter, and on our left the world of antimatter. You understand this? If the two came together, we would have an explosion. Andrew, But the reason I have difficulty is that you said we are composite of both sides of polarity. So how could there be another side when we are a complete already? Tom, you have not understood what we've said. Andrew, if you're a composite, you don't have two sides, see? If you have black and white, you can have two sides. But black and white is not a composite. Grey is the composite. I'm having difficulty. Tom, you're explaining in your world. We are explaining in ours. Shall we say in essence? Andrew, in essence. Okay, that makes it easier to deal with. If it's the essence rather than the actual substance, whatever that may be, Tom, it's the essence. Andrew, all right. Tom, there's a balance within all. What causes the great dissension is a similar situation to putting together matter and antimatter. They cannot mingle, they cannot mix in harmony, they cannot blend, they can become destructive to each other. Here again, Andrew has another exchange with Tom on duality, and Tom takes several attempts to clarify the picture for him. Andrew, we do have difficulty understanding what is negative and what is positive in respect of what is called good and bad on the human level. Tom, it is difficult in your physical world for you to truly understand the importance of both. I will try to explain it in a manner which you may understand. It would be similar to a giant scale. We are the pivot of this giant scale. Visualize the universe with the pivot being us. On one side of the universe, visualize that all is negative, and on the other side, all is positive. And as you see this, you know that there is a complete out of balance situation. It is difficult for us to explain this so that you may understand. Within each of the sides, there are many. I will explain it in earthly terms. As each of the galaxies and solar systems within the galaxy, first I must clarify, the universe with the 9 in the center has 4 sides. The side opposite that, in which you exist, and the other 2 are all in balance. Do you understand? Yes, I'm following. Tom. It is in perfect balance. On this side, we will now place your solar system within your galaxies and the galaxies. If you would take a stone for each of these galaxies, if they were in perfect weight and perfect proportion to the rest of the 3 sides, then this would be also in balance. But if one of those stones were of a porous substance, if we placed it in oil and it absorbed the oil and became weighted with the oil, then in turn it would upset the balance and pull the balance and the scale out of calibration and would upset the other side of the universe. Your planet is accomplishing that. The negative is the heavy oil. Remember, the other sides are balanced, but this imbalance can topple the rest. That is not correct. In actuality, there's no good and there's no bad. It's only when one of them becomes sour or rotten that it then contaminates the rest, be it good or bad. Because of the ignorance of the peoples of planet Earth, and because their religious leaders have taught ignorance, your negative forces, which do not truly appear as you see them, manifest in that way in order to instill fear. But what is truly negative, listen carefully. What has quite created the upset, besides the desires and the greed, is the complete denial and misinterpretation of the existence of ultimate reality. Your overpopulation is because of the trapping of spirits, because of reincarnation. So the earth people, the souls and spirits that surround your earth, need to release themselves of greed and desire, because that is the trap. Your religious leaders do not understand this and do not teach the people. Remember that in you is a seed of purity and beauty, that if you do not maintain a balance, ugliness or any ugly part may appear. But remember forgiveness. We hold no animosity within us, and you should not do so either, even though you exist upon a physical planet and the densest of all planets in the universe. Remember that all souls may be saved. The only thing of which we are unforgiving is in the denunciation of God. Andrew, yes, I understand. I think at times there have been occasions where we have been guilty of that attitude. Tom, this is the truth, but remember to forgive them when there is true acknowledgement. May we say to you, to voice what you feel is one thing, but it is the act that is important. There are many actors upon the worldly stage that play a different part than they feel. It is when they begin to feel that they are that part, not themselves, that it makes a big difference. They may say they love God and they may say that they have understanding, but if they do not act in that way, then that is a graver problem because it is done in ignorance. It is the same as when you give to another because you believe it obligates the other to give back. Then you give, what you give is not gold, it is black and putrid. We wish you also to know that we do not have the need to be worshipped. Our need from you is to be loved. Do you know who is God? Andrew: I know who is God in the abstract sense. Tom: do you know truly who God is? Andrew: not truly, no. Tom: are you prepared to know who God is? Andrew: I would be prepared, yes. And I do not know what that means in terms of consequences, but yes, I would be prepared. Tom: love is God, and it is love that creates the energy which feeds God and makes God. In your world there are religious groups that say God is within, and this is true because there's a portion of divinity within each individual. But what we have told you is not the same. Andrew: it took me a long time to square up with this, the notion that the 9 collectively are God, and that we are all collectively are God. Tom: remember that as God we all carry a heaven burden, but we are also carrying joy. Andrew: well, being in the center, can you go further to indicate how we stand between the negative and the positive? Tom: remember this, that the position that you have chosen in your physical world is limited, but remember who you are. Never lose sight of who you are. And remember that in God all things are possible and will be done. The problem is the limits of the physical mind and understanding. And also remember that as God, in order to maintain the balance in your physical world, you must at all times be detached. Gently you must detach, because the work that conscious people on earth have to do does not involve 1 or 2 individuals or the multiplication of those individuals. The work you humans have to do involves the universe. And remember, God never fails. In your physical world, you as God are being tested. Not that God can be tested, but your physical limitations to yourselves as God are being tested. And though we know that this may sound a contradiction to you, in being God and having a problem in the physical world, you must come to understand these problems of the physical world. There are some of us who have never had this problem, and it's difficult for those of us that have not had it to understand it. God is all-knowing and is all-seeing, but there are parts of God as there are parts of every atom. The whole together makes one, but not all parts experience the same. Do you understand this? Andrew: okay, we are beginning to get questions about the 9. Not only do people ask who are they, but also are they good or evil? This is a problematic question to answer. Tom: you are aware that difficulties have arisen because of the religions that have been perpetrated upon the people of earth. So may we say to you, when people ask, are they good or are they evil, you know who you are and you know who we are, so you can happily without doubt say that the 9 are good and they wish to help. And if there are those that say, but we have seen evil things, then we would ask you to ask them to look within themselves. To see what you call evil does not mean that you must be evil to perceive it, but this is a way of helping those who believe in evil to look within themselves, to help themselves. Have we talked in riddles? In 1991, another guest asked Tom the following question. Guest: what is the relationship of the 9 to God and to the devil? Tom: you cannot use that terminology of God and the opposite in the same sentence, for there is not of any equal to what you call God. For what you call God is the all-knowing, the total creation, all that is. That you call by the name that you have used, we speak of as the opposition. You cannot equate that together. You ask us, what is our relationship? We tell you now, we are not God. We have no relationship to the opposition. We are the council of 9 that are in service to the Creator. The Creator is not destructive. The opposition is destructive. And before that transmission in the 1970s, Andrew had this conversation. Andrew: what do you say to those people who tend to think in terms of absolute good and evil, who use figures like Ahriman and Satan and so on? Tom: ask them to look within themselves and to understand that within each being there are all the elements of good and all the elements of what they call evil. We do not like that word, evil. Andrew: I don't either. It has a wrong connotation. But you know, many people are very pious. Tom: They are not in truth pious, for they do not understand truth. They are in truth fanatics. They have doubts. Andrew: Yes, and they are the most difficult ones to ask to look into themselves. Some of our most pious friends have become very anti the 9 basic teaching. Tom: Well, gently walk away from those, and the truth will come eventually. It is important that you do not start, may we say, pounding at them, but say, you have your belief and I have mine. Andrew: Yes, I think we have all learned that lesson. Tom: You must be of great gentleness. Do you understand? Keep the purity within you and know who you are, and do not contaminate your purity with other influences that will try to weaken you. Andrew: We have many physical and human weaknesses. Tom: Not as many as you wish to believe. Andrew: But is doubt one of the prominent things? Tom: Yes, it is. It is as prominent as fear. Andrew: For myself, I do not really know fear. That is almost foreign to me. Tom: But you have doubts? Andrew: I have doubts. Tom: And that is the same. Andrew: I have skepticism, but I'm learning. We have been reviewing our communication with you, and we are quite astounded at how much we have grown, and are kind of embarrassed to hear some of the things we said earlier. So I think to some extent we feel that we have made some progress in growing. Tom: Remember, we have grown with you, because when you grow, we also grow. Andrew: That surprises me. Growth potential still exists at the level of the 9? Tom: Yes, because you are in the physical and we are communicating directly with you. We are growing and coming to understand the physical, and that is important. We are not of the physical, and yet the paradox is that we are ahead of all that is physical. Do you understand how we grow with you? Andrew: That's a difficult one. Do you mean ahead in time? I don't quite understand that idea. Tom: What has happened with us is that we have learned through you, because we have attached to you, and we are now living your emotions, and we are beginning to understand. The council has said that I should use the word beyond and not the word ahead. Andrew: I didn't realize that you were getting a refresher course in Earth experience. He's funny. Oh, it's not just Earth, Tom says. It is physical. Do you understand? Andrew: I only know Earth physical. I don't know the physical throughout the universe. Tom: The Earth is the densest of all physical. The Earth is the densest of all physical, and so what better place can we learn? John: One thing about doubt. I feel that blind faith is also a dangerous thing, and the fine line between the two must be found. Tom: We never ask you for blind faith. Has there been a time in your entire existence upon Earth when suddenly you came upon something that made you become paralyzed with fear? Andrew: I think when I was a child, I had a fear of snakes, but I overcame that. Tom: But you had that. Do you recall the moment? Andrew: Oh yes, I recall the moment when suddenly there was a rattler in front of me, and I just froze in fear, not knowing what to do. Tom: That is something that we're beginning now to understand, but it is also the same as doubt. Andrew: I see. That's very instructive. Tom: But we do not ask you to follow in blind faith. You must at all times ask for clarification. You must never simply accept. So that was page 1 to page 18. And then I shall do another capital in a separate transmission from The Only Planet of Choice, transcribed by Phyllis Schlemmer, who passed away in 2003.